Alden felt the presence of his ravens before seeing them fly towards him. He extended his right arm, and one bird landed while the other settled on his shoulder. Frigga got up upon seeing the two blackbirds, wriggling her hands worriedly. Four headed from the poison, but still weak, stayed seated, but looked with concerned blue eyes at his father, waiting for news. Mun in memory, hoped to Odin's shoulder as the god tilted his head slightly to listen. To everybody listening, the clicking and squawking of the two birds made no sense, but the birds' magic could be felt. Their cackle had some sort of whisper, the whisper of magic, a language itself, but Odin's two messengers' magic was unique. Despite that, Frigga and Thor could almost perceive a word in Munim's squawking. Loki, Loki, Loki. The chant was like a dark melody that sent shivers down their spines. Once the ravens were done with his report, Odin lifted his head and looked over at the beautiful Asgardian sky. What did he say? Thor asked abruptly. Does he know where Loki is? Frigga inquired, worrying that had been killing her since she last heard about him. Her dear son had disappeared from Hedmellin's view, and worse, Tyri had gone into Jotunheim only to find the signs of a fight against the dragon, and had retrieved the dead bodies of the Asgardians sent to protect him. There had been no sign of Loki ever since. Odin didn't answer right away. He walked slowly, almost limping towards his golden seat before falling in it, letting down his mask of his sledge in front of his family. His shoulders dropped, as if his ravens were suddenly too heavy. Odin? Frigga answered, her voice shaking in panic at this intense silence. They caught him, he simply said, breaking the silence and threatening to choke them all. For a moment none answered, not sure what they heard right. They caught Loki? Odin repeated. The queen inhaled a deeply shaky breath, her hand covering her mouth while Thor opened his eyes, wine panic and sadness clashing in it. What? He hesitated. It's impossible. Loki would never be caught so easily, he exclaimed, getting up suddenly. What happened since Frigga hesitated, trying to remain strong. I don't know. Munum and Hugin were flying around Utgard to find out about an army, but there wasn't even a nervous horse. They approached the fortress and spied on King Forgnor. He is preparing for war. The tension in the room sparked even more until he continued, his voice hard and dark. They arrived in the middle of the conversation, but King Forgnor is assembling an army. Loki was discovered in the room and... His voice trailed off, while Frigga closed her eyes tightly, unable to hold back her tears anymore. Thor took a deep step forward, frowning in fear what had become of his brother. What happened to him? He asked in a shaky voice. Odin stared at the table in front of him, not saying a thing, which only worried his wife and son more. What happened to my brother? Thor yelled, his heart beating soundly against his chest in cold fear. He is captured into the hands of our enemies. He is hostage for Jotunheim. Allfather finally said. Silence fell in the room again, until Frigga choked on a strangled sob and turned around. Hiding her tears, Thor tried to understand what this meant. His little brother, one of the mightiest warriors of Asgard, had been captured? He was a hostage? Thor couldn't believe it, but the way his father was looking down with one eye, looking pale and shaken by whatever detail Munum had given him left no doubt. Thor's heart sank as he clenched his fists, blinking away the tears threatening to spill from his eyes. We have to go, he exclaimed, with the voice weaker than he intended. His father didn't answer, so he continued. If Loki has been captured by the mountain giants who want war, then let's give it to them. We need to free my brother and... No, Odin cut suddenly. It took a moment for his son to process what had just been said before his heart missed a beat, and he frowned at his father. What? We can't attack Jotunheim, the Allfather said with a firm voice. Thor hesitated, shaking his blonde head slightly before reacting violently. Why? They have sent a spy among us, are preparing for war, and they have captured my brother, a prince of Asgard. We can't let them get away with that. We need to attack before... This is exactly what they want, Odin yelled. His shout was so sudden that even Frigga, usually used her husband's fists, is to start and looked back between father and son. Thor's eyes widened into his father's, one electrically sparked between them. "Ah," the king muttered, slumping back against his throne, hand on his heart. "We can't attack Jonanum. This is what they want of us," he repeated, looking straight into his son's eyes. But Loki is," Thor whispered, panic rising in his chest once again. "Loki is able to handle himself. He was supposed to stay safe and come back with information, not to become a tool for the mountain giants to throw at us. Think of our position as this, Thor. We have sent a spy, my son nevertheless, right into Utgard's fortress. With Loki captured, the mountain giants have all the reasons to declare that we have spied on them and betrayed our truce. They sent a spy beforehand. We have no proof of it, but dead corpses now turn into ashes," Odin exclaimed. Thor swallowed hard while the father continued. "We're in a position of weakness and invulnerability. If we track Jonanum, it will not be seen as retrieving the Prince of Asgard, but will for war. This is what they want of us from the beginning, that we sent a spy and would allow them to appear as victim attacked on their own territory." Odin shifted in his seat to be more comfortable, but he was too nervous and worried both his wife and son could see it. "This is why we can't attack Jonanum. We have to wait for them to make a move against us out of impatience," he repeated firmly, challenging his heir to speak against him again with his eye. Thor swallowed and remained silent, understanding how delicate the situation was. It was Frigga who took a step forward, frowning lightly, despite the distress in her eyes and knowing that her son was imprisoned. "But a move against us it would be." "Yes," Odin simply said, looking down in shame. "You can't let that happen," she exclaimed, anger appearing in her gaze. Thor looked between them, not understanding what was happening. He was about to ask what his mother meant, but she continued, revealing what she knew all father was thinking about. "If it's not a direct attack against Asgard, then Loki, you can't let that happen. He is your son. You can't let him die for your pride," she shrieked, furious that Odin would try to find another solution. Thor's eyes widened in panic, but his father threw a hard, annoyed look at his wife, which didn't make her flinch in the slightest. "He is our son, which is why I trust him in escaping. Your Majesty." They all turned towards Tyri, Olvar, and Freyr, and Hermod, who had just entered the room without being announced. "What is it?" Odin asked immediately, tense upon seeing the serious looks on his advisors' faces. "We just received a message from King Fortunar," Hermod, the god of messengers, announced before her handling this role to Odin. The king got up suddenly, his ravens flapping their wings to balance themselves, while he took the roll and read it quickly, brows furrowing immediately. Silence resigned in the room until he looked up at Thor and Frigga, who were watching him anxiously, scared to hear the news that they didn't want to think about. "King Fortunar is declaring war against Asgard after his son's assassination by an Asgardian spy," he announced, a light victory shining in his blue eyes. "Loki," Frigga started to nervously. "He is not mentioned," he cut in, "but it's most likely he escaped, killing Bonjnor and giving us the right to defend ourselves against Jonanum." "Did you plan for this to happen?" Thor asked in a low, frowning at his father. All the father do is ignored him, and it took Gunnar a spear, and he lifted up his head, looking fiercer and prouder, then turned towards his advisors, a bright light burning in his eye. "Let us prepare the troops for a battle to come. Hermod, I want you to send a message to all of our soldiers and allies. We need as much strength as possible. Terry, Frey," he called, turning towards his generals, "let us discuss a strategy while the message is spread." "The message?" Frigga repeated in a low voice, frowning lightly. Her husband turned towards her, a brave yet dangerous look on his face, the look of the king heading for battle and a father ready to avenge his son. "The war against Jonanum," he said, with a hard voice, at the tip of his spear sparkling coldly. Hermod turned around, running off to send messages of all the Asgard and all the 9 realms. Tyrvir, Orvar, and Freyr followed the All-Father, while Frigga remained in the room. Thor ran after his father, catching up with him quickly. "Father, let me lead a rescue mission for Loki," he exclaimed. "No, Loki can handle himself. He just proved it. But, Thor, Odin interrupted, his voice threatening. He stopped so suddenly that Thor almost fell over when he tried to stop as well. He turned towards his father, who, suddenly angrier and more impatient with the war to get ready for it. Loki went to Jotunheim alone, survived a battle against a dragon and assassin who was after him, and managed to arrive in Utgard and gained information. After being discovered, he fought his way out, killed one of the finest warriors of the mountain giants, now gave us the opportunity to attack without being seen as attackers. He put a hand on his son's shoulder. Thor stared at him, mouth hanging open. Be proud of your brother and trust him. He is alive and doesn't need rescue. I know it. Thor looked down, clenching his jaw and fists, his heart tight with worry and fear. You don't know everything, he murmured. Odin's eye was sharp, and then he threw his son a look, but didn't respond. Instead, he dropped his hand and kept walking. A wide table where a map of Jotunheim was spread, followed by his son and the three closest advisors. Freyr, I can count to Vanaheim to ally with us? The Allfather asked, looking up at the sun god. I cannot answer for them, but I will personally go and inquire after their alliance for this war, if it is what you wish, your majesty, he answered firmly with a sort of nod on his head. Odin nodded, before pointing at some plains on the map. The only battlefield close to Utgard is the plain of Shurgrim. The only way to access it for us will be to cross those mountains and those valleys. It'll be easy for the mountain giants to trap us if we take this way, Thor noticed, frowning. Except if we lure them into another trap, Odin replied, a bright eye. What do you plan? He asked, blinking at his father. Thor, you will take the warriors Free and Lady Sif. The 5 of you will lead the main troops. The thunder god looked up, mouth hanging open in shock. It took him a moment to process what this meant. He finally shook his head, looking confused. Wait, the main troops? Didn't Overar and Trey become qualified, leading the main troops? I'm not sure Thor, you must be honored. Rare these warriors as young as you, who can lead troops. Tales will behold of your glory during this battle, Trey said with an encouraging smile. You think? The heir hesitated, more embarrassed and confused than he would admit. Oh, I'm sure, he answered. Overar and Free then nodded with smiles as the prince, who felt confidence and surging through with him. He smiled and gave a short nod to his father. It's an honor, Allfather, he said, bowing slightly in front of him. Odin nodded before giving him a more intimation about his plan and theories. After this short war council, Thor went to look for the warriors Free and Lady Sif. His heart hammered in his chest, in excitement for battle as well as worry and fear for his brother, as he searched for his friends, to share with them the good news. They would lead the troops one of the most glorious battles Asgard had ever known. The sky looked almost white from the rising sun behind the clouds as King Fortunor stared at the embers and ashes, the only remains of his son. After the announcement of the prince's death, funerals were held by night, according to the traditional ceremony. Most people had gone to sleep for hours by now. Others were mourning for their friends and families and ones that were killed by Loki and his Volva, as much as the other ones to come, now that the war against Asgard had been announced. Your Majesty, Lord Nolan called, arriving behind him. The king didn't look away from the bright embers as the sky was slowly charged itself with clouds, darker and darker by the minute. What do you want? Fortunor asked in a low, hoarse voice, motionless. We cannot find Loki's body, nor of his associate, Nolan answered, trying to lower his booming voice, without much success. For a moment the Jotunheim king did not even move before lifting up his gaze slightly, just enough to stare at the mountains surrounding him and the sky covered in clouds. Keep looking, he said with the same voice. Nolan hesitated, shifting his massive weight from one foot to another. He glanced over at his shoulder at his 2 advisors, Ari and Eric, who both tightened their lips upon seeing their king so weak with grief. With all due respect, my liege, I saw them fall into the rocks before their bodies were taken by the river. There's no way they could have survived such a fall, much less the river orc. He is a setter user, and she is the Volva. They could have used some sort of trick to lure you into thinking they're dead. Keep looking for the corpses. I will not rest until I have Loki's body at my feet, dead or alive." The dark-haired giant stared at this king before giving a sharp nod at Ari, who answered with the same gesture before turning around and leaving. Not that the king had noticed the presence to begin with. King Fortunar turned towards Lord Nolan and Sir Ericary slowly. His dark blue eyes widened filled with so many emotions: grief, sorrow, sadness, guilt, but mostly fury. "I will walk into battle with Loki's head on my spear, and his blood as paint on my face," he hissed to it with mad eyes, shining brighter than the cold, cloud-covered sky.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.